Customer states she smelled something burning, things are not working, and overall something's going on with this. So I'm going to show you what I've encountered. After this video, you'll see the pictures. First things first, we have to take off all that, whatever that is for the Bluetooth light guess thing underneath, underglows, whatever. We're also going to be taking off the battery power, and we're going to be inserting it the proper way down there, because right now, as you can see, it's pinched between the rubber grommet and the metal. To do it the right way, you have to take the battery off, obviously insert it into the grommet, that way it doesn't end up getting cut from the metal itself as the car is being driven and the bouncing around and all that. So that's the first thing we're going to do, is remove the battery, insert the power the right way, definitely not this way, but we're also going to replace the fuse holder with a bigger A&L one, so it'll support the amp, distribution block, and the two compressors in the back. So let's get to it. Now that the battery's out, we can pretty much see what's going on down here. This is definitely not something you want to do. Yeah, because eventually this is going to start getting cut. It kind of already started on the braids, so eventually it's going to start cutting the wire. So what you're supposed to do is cut a little slit on the grommet itself, insert it from there, and that's pretty much the right way of doing it. So we're going to go ahead and pull that out and redo basically everything. So ended up taking the floor mats and just kind of seeing this wire right here, just chilling down there. Should have been kind of routed underneath the carpet so it looks nicer, but I'll go ahead and do that for her and pretty much continue taking everything off. So we're just chugging along, keep taking everything off. So far that's all that's going to be left up front. It's going to have a distribution block in the underneath the seat. That's where the amp is going to be mounted at, along with a basic distribution block 3-way. So I'm going to go ahead and take the amp off and take the bottom seat off, and I can pretty much route everything a lot easier that way. Moving on the back, I do need to access the factory amp since I'm going to be rewiring everything. So that's what I found, not even fully tightened, so that's also going to get fixed. It's going to be a little bit of pain in the ass since everything is kind of placed in there already, but kind of have to do what I need to do, remove all that, rewire it, and we're moving on to the next step. Moving on to the inside, start taking everything off since, like I said, it's going to be placed underneath the passenger seat. So this is overkill right here. As you can see, the strands are practically almost touching together, and my assumption was this remote wire is getting overloaded, and it looks like it's turning on the airlift management. And from what the owner told me, it's also powering a fan, which these are not designed to power so many different things. To do it the right way, you will have to run a relay powered from the battery and then triggered from that. So but we're not going to be using this anymore. We're going to be tapping into a fuse at the fuse block. I can already tell also that it's getting hot right here. So yeah, we're moving right along. Get this out, unplug everything. So I'm currently taking everything off. Notice this ground is pretty much melted, so that just shows that there's overloading of amp or not sufficient system. I mean, that's pretty bad. So melted clear right off. So I'm going to run the remote base knob and do the remote turn on properly via this fuse box up here. I'm gonna be running it over there. So it was ran along the driver's side, but I'm keeping everything on the passenger side. So let's go ahead and tape it up, run it to the passenger side. I always do it this way every time I run any wires or RCAs and things like that from the driver's side to the passenger side. I always put a split loom just to kind of double protection just in case. The only thing that's behind there, it's nothing but plastic stuff, so I already checked, but simple, cheap. We are getting somewhere right now. Like I said, I took everything off, kind of cleaned everything up, and so far this is the dilemma. So we're going to be cleaning all of this up, just to show you how long the wires are. So while I'm waiting for the parts, I went ahead and did the ground points for the amp and the compressors. So went ahead and scratch off the paint. So anytime you add a ground to a point, always take off the paint. That way it's going to make a solid connection. But we're going to go ahead and continue hooking up the compressors to the relay, and we're still waiting on the distribution block. So we'll keep on chugging in this car until we're pretty much complete, but we are getting closer. All right, I already got the LOC buttoned up in here. Almost forgot the 10. Remember before it only had one, so it's gonna need another nut over there, but this pretty much can go back in, and LOC is pretty much done. Pretty much got the power for the for the distribution block. So 150 amp, that should be able to handle 2 compressors and the amp itself. The compressors were only rated at 100 or 40 amp, actually 30 amp, sorry. So that should be able to handle everything. Not gonna hook it up yet, but it is pretty much ready. So whenever the distribution block arrives tomorrow, we're gonna go ahead and get everything buttoned up and see if everything works out. These are also not my wiring, so I'm just gonna zip tie it whenever I'm done. But overall, that's pretty much done. So we are kind of finishing everything up. I went ahead and going to tap it to a ignition signal. We're also going to be using a tap a fuse, so not doing on all that ghetto rigging stuff. This is the proper way of adding it to a fuse box. So I'll show you which one I tapped into and pretty much see if everything turns on. So while I wait for my phone to charge, I'm trying to connect it to Bluetooth. I went ahead and decided to take off the whatever this is, the Bluetooth module, I believe, for the underglows. So I'm gonna continue cutting all that, pretty much scrap it since the customer doesn't want it. So yeah, I'll show you what all that looks like. Here's the underglow removed. So one of them is not even connected. It looks like it rubbed on maybe the ground or something like that, or got pulled off, but it's not even connected to the end. So glad to have removed that. The only thing I didn't touch was this harness. I did just zip tie it. I'm not really sure where it's connected to. I'm assuming for the purple light deal. But overall, it's pretty much completed. Fuse is doing its job. Pretty much adjust the amp, and this one is done. my opinion, this was probably the culprit of the issue. Either a power or ground touched or something overheated, which this was the ground the guy that installed it was using. So I mean, to burn it up that bad, it must have been really bad. So glad to have gotten taken out, had new ground in. So far everything is good. So finally got this one finished. I got everything put back together, all the panels, tested the air ride. Nothing's overheating, nothing's shutting off. So everything is pretty much fixed in this.